some of the kids that got to 18, I kind of thought, and this is my fault, I'll take it on, I kind of thought, I'm not sure they can get better anymore. Okay. But knowing the journey now is that it's still just beginning. Honestly, that's why we talk about 14. I'm like, really? 18, it's just beginning. Your college pathway, your professional pathway is actually just beginning. And the improvements and gains you can still make are huge. Huge. Just from being around, I guess the important thing, the right environment. And what that environment is, whether it's college, around 10 other people that are really doing the same thing, or you're out competing on a professional level, the improvements are huge.
And yeah, feel free when you chime in. And if we need to maybe look something up, yep. Sweet. Welcome to another episode of Going Pro, and today we have someone that I've been working with closely in the recent months, and we have Ben Milner here. You have 35 years of coaching experience. You have been recognised by Tennis Australia as a Platinum Development Coach, which not many people had the honour of receiving. You've been a finalist in 2014, 15 and 16 for Australian Tennis Award for Coaching Excellence, Talent Development at the Newcomb Medal, and also South Australian Coach of the Year in 2014. Previous accolades have been NT Hall of Fame for your services in the tennis community up in the Northern Territory. You've brought 3 players to national titles. One of them have won a couple of times. Charlotte at 15 won the 18s. Had a player compete at Australian Open level. Currently working professional player at League 2. So there's a long list in your 35 years of coaching there.
It's certainly been a journey, that's for sure.
Actually, how's this audio? Is that okay? Oh, sweet. So I wanna go into your journey. So how did you work in Darwin? So what led you to coach in Darwin? Were you originally from there?
No, I wasn't originally from there. I was doing a little bit of coaching in South Australia, and someone reached out to me and said, there might be an opportunity in Northern Territory. And I was pretty young, obviously, back at the time. I was only 18, and I heard some good things about Northern Territory. So I went up there and thought I'd give it a go.
Was the plan just to be there for a short time, see how it went? Yeah. And then how long did you actually end up there?
Just over 20 years. My children were actually born in Darwin. So
yeah, okay.
It was a big experience.
That's huge. So how did you develop the culture there over 20 years?
I had a really good mentor that I went up there, a guy called Pat Coburn, who really helped me drive a culture about we all help each other get better. We're in a small place, but everyone used to say, you can't get better in the Northern Territory, you're too small. But then he'd always come back to me and say, hey, there's some advantages of being in a small place. So always finding a way to get better, no matter where you are.
So 20 years there, did some good things. How did that end up, and why did you come back to Adelaide? Well,
it ended up my 2 girls were playing a lot of tennis, and they kind of reached the time there where education-wise and tennis-wise, also, obviously, my parents and my wife's parents were getting older. Coming back to support them a little bit as well, and also bring my girls to a bigger place.
Yeah, sure. So the multitude of factors.
Yep.
So how old were the girls at that point?
12 and 10.
Yep. Okay. And then from there, did you slot into running your own club seamlessly? Like, what was the transition from actually?
Well, it was a really interesting transition, actually, because all states are different, how they work. Northern Territory was very much a business orientated, not a volunteer based situation. So everyone ran their businesses. And then I came back to Adelaide, and the CEO at the time was looking possibly to transition Adelaide to a little bit of a business model. And he knew I had some good experience there. I was quite successful in the business that I ran up there. So I moved into Millswood and ran it purely more as a business model, which ended up being quite successful.
Yeah, okay. So what year was that?
That was about 13 years ago.
Okay. Because, I remember growing up and that you were always running the show at Millswood. I never trained there. So at that time, was that a headquarters with Tennis SA, or was that a separate entity?
Well, Tennis SA, that was their venue.
Yep.
And they were able to lease it out to a person to run it as a business, and it had been tried before. It hadn't been that successful, but I think it's a little bit because we didn't have a culture of that model where I'd had quite a bit of experience in that area.
Yeah.
And it did thrive for quite a while. Yes. It was huge.
So when you got going though, did it take a while to get going? Like, did you slot in and did a whole bunch of players start coming, or how did the kind of that initial phase go?
Well, it was interesting. Obviously, having a couple of young girls of my own daughters that were good tennis players attracted a few people over. I also had a very good player that I still have a great relationship with, and her father, who came and talked to me and said, "Hey, I really like what you do. I think you're like a really good guy." And his daughter, Amber, came over and trained a lot. And I guess that brought a lot of players with that. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I think if you are a coach and you have a couple of kids that play and they're decent, you can just almost use that as leverage that you're going to coach them anyway. And then just many players flock. That makes,
absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, so I put in a lot of hard yards with Amber, but in the end, it kind of came back fourfold for me. So
yeah, nice. And were you someone that always wanted to get your girls into tennis and coach them? That's always the interesting one, being a dad and a coach.
That's a subject in itself. Like, I guess in Darwin, they used to walk from their school to tennis to the venue I was running. It was 5 minutes walk. So they were always around it. They always picked up a racket, and from there, never looked back.
Yeah. And did you have like issues coaching them where they just didn't want to listen, or they've had enough? Like, how did you keep them in the game and be a father, but then also a coach?
That's a really tough one, to be honest. And I guess all parents would realize that. And also when you put your coach hat on as well.
Yeah.
So it had its difficulties, to be honest, but trying to keep the emotion out of it was the big one.
Yeah.
And that's not easy. As parents, we all know, hey, my kid lost. It's quite emotional, but rather than go, okay, they tried their best, they worked hard, we're all good.
Yeah, it gets me thinking, because like I'm on the path to having kids in the near future, and I think about, do I want to actually get my kids into tennis? Did they always want to, or did you kind of maybe not push them, but you kind of got them to play a bit just by being around it?
They were just around it a lot. And I guess when you're around it a lot, they picked up a racket, and they did love it. And to be honest, it has created a great opportunity and journey for them. So
yeah, which we can touch on as well, because there's, I think, value in the journey that they've been on for many juniors as well. But I want to go into, I guess, what helped your success at Millswood? So you had a 13-year journey there, and you're really building a culture. How did you have so much success, and what was happening in that 13 years to have such a thriving community?
Yes, it is all about the culture, and obviously probably back then it's not about having a lot of girls through mine and through Charlotte and Amber, but I guess the biggest one, and I had to learn that through my children, was having younger kids come through that were very good, and trying to tell my girls that that's okay. They got over the top of them at some stage, but having a culture that we're all trying to help each other get better, and we're all okay to hit with anybody was massive. And I think it was probably hard, but knowing that there's a 12-year-old coming through that's probably going to come through, and letting the parents and all the kids know, hey, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, that would have been interesting to manage, because I read an article that you had a crop of the best 10-year-olds in SA competing at a national level in the national Super 10s. And you had, I think there was 8 that went to the national Super 10s around the Australian Open time, and you had 6 of them coaching single-handedly by yourself.
Yep.
How do you manage that all at once? Because that would be very tricky to manage all the expectation, manage the parents, not play favorites, help everyone get to where they want to get to, because it's hard to manage all of those things.
Extremely tricky, you're right, extremely tricky. But once again, if you have a culture that we're all in this together and we're all going to help each other get better, it's really important. And it's not easy to do, because we all get jealous, parents get jealous, the kids think, oh, he's favouring this, whatever, but it is all about, we're in this together, we'll help each other get better, And like I said to you, we're going to play each other today. Oh, you beat me today. That's okay, because it's going to help me get better. So that was probably the secret.
Did you have conflict that you had to deal with? Like, did you have to stamp out any kind of stuff like parents saying something that was like, oh, you're favoring this person, or was it actually stuff that you had to deal with managing so many players at once?
Yeah, along the journey, there was lots of, probably favoritism was a big one.
Yep.
You know, you're spending more time, so dealing with that wasn't easy, but letting them know that, I'm in this, we're all in this together. There's no favoritism here at all. So it was tough. But like I said, creating a good culture, that was it.
Yeah, because it would have been really good that they were all just competing against each other. Because I think we talk about the last time SA had a really good batch of kids that came through that went on to do something really successful on a world scale was the cluster of Thanasi, Lee Tu, James Ma, Jack Japansky, Luke Saville, and they were just all training together full on all of the time, competing against each other. And that was creating a culture of just them getting better. So that would have been one of those clusters where they were just together competing, and that would have kind of like made them develop even more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that was what you talked about, was obviously as an older people, but these were guys who were younger. And we had exactly the sort of culture, which wasn't easy with younger kids and dealing with more parents. But we had exactly that situation where they'd compete and play against each other regularly and know that they were helping each other get better.
Yeah, because it seems like now that people are scared of that a little bit more, and scared of kind of competing and want to kind of do it by themselves and float around to different places. And there isn't really a hub where everyone is in the same environment to compete against their peers. It's almost like there is a fear factor around that now. Like what would you say around that, and what have you observed from how it was from your early experiences as your coaching career to now, and what you're seeing with around that kind of competitive culture?
So obviously we've brought in a few different tools. I don't know if we'll talk about them too much, but the UTR tools come in. That's obviously changed the dynamics quite a lot about kids wanting to compete. But I also think we need the kids to think, hey, I've got a good, strong team around me. I mean, I train here, and even play a lot of matches within their environment. You got to have a strong group, like obviously I had. And if you've got a strong group together, let's play in a safe environment. Let's compete. Let's try and beat each other. It's okay, because we're not putting ourselves out there to the world right now. We're just competing against a group of kids trying to get better. At the moment, I think every time we're out there, we're putting ourselves out there in a situation where, someone's judging me, or my UTR's going down. Rather than just playing it for the love of it and trying to compete. I'm playing Luke today and I'm just going to give me everything. And it's okay. It's okay what happens.
Yeah, I think the short-sightedness of worrying about their UTR rating at this point and how it's going to affect them, rather than having a long-term vision of, well, how good am I going to be at 18? And once you get to a pro level, the UTR is irrelevant anyway. Even before before that level, UTR pretty much becomes irrelevant.
Yep.
So from my observations, you are very good at delivering technical cues in a simple way to develop children from the ages of 8 to 14. So I want to dive into a little bit more about how you help, or what's really important, develop players from the age of like 8 to 10, for example, 10 to 12, and 12 to 14.
Yep. Well, that's obviously the key to the pathway. And I think I've talked to you about this, Luke, since we've spent a lot more time together now, is the importance of having good people, good coaches around the kids when they're even 6 to 8 is really important. And I've told you it's something I want to really help grow, is the coaches that are working at that level, knowing exactly what we want as coaches when they come out of that level. And a lot of it, I think, is about perception and being able to move to a ball. I think we do a little bit too much of good hitting, but can't move. Because tennis in the end is a moving sport, and you have to be able to move into a good spot. So it is all about good coaches at 6, but getting the kids moving.
So you think more like fundamental movement stuff, like balance stuff, any kind of drills or games around that, just to get the kids kind of understanding how to coordinate their body a little bit more?
Yeah, I think keeping it simple, like you said, It's about them knowing the correct spot for contact. And this is a very simple model. And how good are you at finding that correct spot? Okay, what happens after that? It's okay. But being able to find that correct position for contact, that sets them up, because you can become a good hitter, but if you can't move, tough to play.
And that's very individual, because some people just get spatial awareness,
yes,
and some people don't.
No, yeah,
and
yeah.
It takes a lot of practice for some people to actually track the ball and get in position. And I don't think we're doing enough just like throwing, kicking, catching to actually
tracking a ball. Yep.
Yeah, because obviously, like in tennis, there's so many factors and so many kind of things going on at once. If you can't kind of track, then you might know how to use the best swing.
That's right.
But you can't actually execute. So I guess technically, what are you looking at from, let's say, 8 to 10, 10 to 12? What are like some really key things that you're working with on, let's say, the forehand, the backhand, the serve?
Like I said, it comes back to footwork. A lot again, it comes back to balance and contact. And if you can find balance and a good contact, I think a lot of things will take care of themselves. And the earlier we start to teach that, and I've had a few debates with coaches, and some are with me where I've been where people have gone, oh no, kids can't do that. Yes, they can. You know, if we actually put them in a situation where they have to track a ball, yes, it takes a while, but the more we get kids to track and move, the better. I mean, a good example is used to have a lot of kids come over to me at 8. Oh, Ben, we heard you can do things with them. My kids are pretty good. And I'd throw a ball to them. They hit it nicely. We'd go back. No idea how to move and hit a ball. And they go, oh, we don't normally do this. And I'd say, what do you mean? I'd say, oh, we just stand still and hit. And I think that was to my point massively, that standing still and hit doesn't mean a great deal in tennis.
Yeah. And how strict are you with the kids at that age? Like, do you need it to be a certain way when building a structure for someone that's quite young, and then loosening that as they develop into their body a little bit more?
Yeah. So are you talking their personalities or technique?
Definitely both.
Yeah,
with kind of what you want. Let's say you're really trying to mold someone at the age of like 8 to 10.
I think personalities is big now. Like, I think we get a little bit as coaches, a little bit, no, this is how I do it. I'm a little bit more like, no, this kid's got a little bit of something, this or this. So you got to be able to go with their personality a little bit, because this is the way we are in the world we're in. Like, you know, some kids like full structure. Some kids are a bit looser and like to smile and have a chat. And we do that a lot, to be honest. And it has caused a little bit of angst over the time. Sometimes parents or other coaches, oh, you're chatting to the kids. But yeah, I am chatting. I'm working out how they tick, how they work. And it's actually pretty important to know how they tick.
So you think a lot of coaches don't look or overlook that fact?
Yeah, yes.
They think it's like you're just chilling out and there's no real purpose, but there is a purpose behind that.
Absolutely, there's a purpose, because you got to know the kid's personality, and we all know personalities, how different they are. You know, I got some great examples of personalities where some coaches told me, this girl was too quiet in the court, Ben. It's her environment. What are you doing? She doesn't give you anything. 3 years later, I had a girl that was just crazy on the court. Same environment. And I talked to tennis about this, and yeah, they said, you're right, you know, same environment, but completely different personalities. So unless you know their personality and how they tick, it's hard to work with the child.
So how would you work with someone differently? Let's say they had different personalities like you just mentioned. How would you work with someone that's more quiet, or how would you work with someone that's a little bit more kind of like really intense and wants to really get stuck into training more and doesn't want to chat as much? Like, is there any examples of kind of the different personalities that you work with and how you coach them differently?
I think definitely basically, the important thing is to let them know it's okay to be who you are. Because what I talked about before was people trying to get them to be who they weren't. You know, like, I want you to get your fist out. I want you to fire up. Hey, and we're all probably guilty of trying to do that to kids. It's not them. And if it's not them, why do we try and make them who they're not? Mm-hmm. Where if you got someone that fires, like, yes, it's okay. And even at training, yes, it's okay to get your fist out. Like you've seen with us at training, we've got some kids that like to get fired up.
Yeah.
But okay, we've got to work with that now, don't we? We've got to work, because already I've had some parents talk to me about, hey, Ben, this kid's a little bit crazy. Yeah, he's different. Okay, We've got to work with that.
And yeah, I guess celebrating that and not kind of judging or putting a lid on it.
Yes.
Because I think that long term that can, be to the detriment of that kid if you put a lid on their natural, I guess, temperament or the natural way they like to go about things. I guess maybe teaching them the right context or how to manage that a little bit more, where it's not maybe inappropriate. Like how do you go about someone that's just getting fired up and in people's faces at training? Like I personally don't mind that.
Yep.
Because I think it creates something at training and it's real and you have to face it anyway.
Yep.
So I'm not opposed to that. And if a parent came to me and wanted to say, no, I don't like that. I don't want that at training. Yeah, I think it would require a conversation with that parent and then maybe the other parent about the other child of, well, how do we manage this but not say no to it either?
Right. Yep. I mean, I've already had some coaches come up to me about a certain child and said, Ben, he celebrates a lot on the court. He pumps his fist a lot. And I said, yes, he does. And he kind of said, well, is that okay? And I said, well, that's him being him. He's not doing it for any other reason than just to be him. Mm-hmm. So I think that's back to the subject we talked, letting the kids be them.
Mm-hmm. How does it change then once you develop a player a little bit more? So technically you've really worked with their strokes. You've really done a lot of work on how they're moving to their ball, the contact point, for example. You developed a really nice foundation on the serve. So they're now playing tournaments. They're doing well in the state. They're at 12, 13, 14 years old. How does the coaching change from those initial stages for you?
Well, a lot more tactically as well. And I think knowing the kids, hopefully we've not got a lot of strengths and also know their weaknesses, but more than anything, I'm big on knowing their strengths and going out there and playing to their strengths and coming back to, okay, did I play to my strengths today? Yes. Did I get the result? Not quite. But yes, I played to my strengths. There's a few things we've got to work on, but I think knowing their strengths is massive.
Yeah.
And being able to go out there and say, this is what I'm good at. This is how I'm going to play.
Yeah.
And also talking to the parents that this is the way we want your kids to play. It's okay. Win, lose, we're okay.
Yeah. So what sort of tactical fundamentals are you working with some of these players? Maybe someone that's wanting to be a bit more aggressive, maybe someone that likes to be a bit more of a counter puncher. How are you helping some of these athletes with their tactical understanding?
Yeah, well, knowing your game style for one is the biggest. I am an aggressive baseliner. I am a counter puncher. And once the kids owned that, I feel like you're a good chance. You know, some kids don't really want to be counter punchers. Leighton Hewitt, he's pretty good. You know, we're big on, we don't really, no, that's okay. Once they own it, I think it's massive. We can really work on, okay, I am fast. It is one of my strengths. So, hey, I can get to nearly every ball. The other child might be, hey, I'm not that fast, but boy, I can hit it. Mm-hmm. So let's play to your strengths. Let's get the hit in.
Yeah. What would you say that is really lacking for, let's say, at a state level for like a lot of 14-year-olds? What do you see? There are a lot of holes in players' tactical understanding developing through, because I think in Europe it's a lot more tactical than what we have here in Australia. Maybe we look really nice.
Yep.
But
true.
What do you think's missing here in Australia? It's at a developing junior level.
Well, we're not competing as much. We have touched on that. We're definitely not competing as much, which is okay. But I think back on that subject, there's lots of different ways to compete. And I have talked to some other coaches in SA that are successful ones that do this. Hey, let's compete at training. And, you know, I've talked to you about this. Hey, let's compete at training. It's a safe environment. It's okay to lose, but and it's up to us as coaches to try and create that situation where it does mean something. Yeah, I am trying to win today. I am working hard, but we're a little bit safer. I'm around Luke. I'm around Ben. I'm around some friends. I lost.
Mm-hmm. Have you done anything like where you run internal tournaments or internal match play? And just get them competing and they play for something in particular? Or do you offer a prize, or how do you kind of structure something like that?
Not so big on prizes. You know, I'd love the kids to want to do it for themselves.
Yep.
Pretty massively, but yeah, I think we do have some fun punishments. I wouldn't even call them punishment. We have some fun things we do at the end, but I think getting kids to compete in their own environment is massive when they're younger because they're safe. And I think once we put them out there too early and they're trying to improve this, they're trying to improve their UTR, and it's not happening, parents don't like it, kids don't like it, the dinner table's not fun. I lost. So...
Does that then get you thinking a little bit more about how much someone should compete at tournament level? Like, what are your thoughts on should everybody be competing in a lot of tournaments? Is that essential?
It is, but also, like I said, knowing your child and knowing if we go to the younger age, but yeah, you should be competing, absolutely. But again, it's the conversation between the coach and the parent going, I don't think they're ready. Because we're all on our own journey, that's very true. Some kids are not ready. Mentally, they're not ready. Some, absolutely, they're ready.
Yeah, because then it can be scarring.
Absolutely
and
scarring.
Then trauma inducing where they don't even want to compete anymore and they just want to retract and not play at all.
Yes. And even parents as well, to be honest, making sure the parents are okay, your kid's going to lose.
What are some of the signs, though, that you start to see, they're not quite ready?
Obviously, behaviour on the court.
Yep.
Is a big one. Parent-child interaction during the match is pretty big. You know, I've always had a big thing, go and have a coffee. You don't have to watch every point. Let them go. They're okay. They're going to learn and then they're going to grow by themselves. They don't need anyone to hold their hand. And if we have a situation where the parents are, I can't do that, wait, let's not quite go there yet. Where the kids are, obviously there's temper tantrums. They're not quite ready yet.
And how do you identify talent? Like when you see someone and you go, wow, they've got something, what stands out? What are some kind of key components that you look in?
That's a very good question. That's the $1 million question. But yeah, absolutely. I got some really clear ones. One of them is ball striking. You know, the kids, especially the girls that have been quite, have good talent, have naturally just came out and gone bang. One girl in particular, just hit the middle of the racket. Who teaches you that? One question she said to me was, what is a shank? People have talked to me about shanking. She didn't know what shanking was. I thought, wow, most people that play tennis know that you're not hitting the middle of the strings. Oh, okay. Oh, right. So that's a big one because we all know some kids can come out and play and they're still not quite hitting it clean. And the other big one is perception, finding that position. So they're the two clear ones. And then the other one is your ability to compete.
Okay. Some three good ones there. Anything on, I guess, attitude or temperament or movement?
Obviously, movement is big. And I have learnt some, I have seen major improvements from kids that weren't great movers.
Yep.
But went away and said, hey, Ben, I'm going to really work on this. And they have improved a lot. So I think in the women's game, yes, you can really work on it.
Yep.
If you're a good ball striker. Men's game, very tough unless you are an elite mover.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something that you can really improve a lot. Would you rather have someone that can build into that or someone that is already a very natural athlete? Like what's more important?
Very natural athlete is, absolute key. In the men's game, in the women's, not so much, but you still would love that athlete first.
Because it's becoming now more and more important. If you're not a good athlete, it's tough. It's so competitive. The top 100, the athletes are crazy.
Yep. So if you can't move, and that's hence what we talked about earlier. Yeah, from a young age, let's actually see the kids that can move, which sometimes I'm not a huge fan of letting, if you've got a talented kid and you're playing on a little court, like as in a red ball court, we don't get to see the good athletes. Yes, okay, I get it, but I want to see, as far as high performance go, that kid that can run out and hit a ball at 6. So they're able to show their athleticism. If you can get an environment where you show your athleticism, it helps.
Are there any coaching stories that you're really proud of?
Oh yeah, there is. Yeah, I mean, I guess through as as I said to you, there was some people, one person in particular that couldn't really move. And I guess I had a good, like Darren Cale taught me a lot about this, about he took this person once and he not once mentioned that she couldn't move. He said, hey, all you got to do is this to get better. And she went, oh, he's the first person that's actually told me I'm not slow. And I thought, hey, all of a sudden she thinks she's not slow, that was the first tick. And from there, things really improved. I think if we keep emphasizing, hey, I can't do this, can't do this, can't do this, they start believing it. When someone told me, they came in and said, oh, that's pretty good. All you got to do is do this to get a little bit quicker. And it made a massive difference.
Yeah. Are there some big moments or things that you look back on and that stand out for you in your coaching journey? Like key players that you've worked with that really stood out for you for different reasons, or a key moment in this 35 years you've been doing it in the business? Is there anything that really stands out?
Oh, I think in the early years, the loyalty shown it gets to me. This one about some of the kids, the marshals actually showed me a lot of loyalty from a very young age, where they were getting offered this, they were getting offered that. Hey, this is free now. Hey, this is free now. Maybe not really. We're gonna do this. And that kind of sticks with it, because that also helped my journey, to be honest. That helped me grow. It helped, so that helped me a lot.
Yeah, wow. That they stuck by you no matter what.
Yep.
And then it just meant that everyone else just kept coming through as a result. So it helped you grow
absolutely
in your business and just build, I guess, more credibility behind your name, and that you don't really need to seek anything anymore. It just naturally comes your way from the successes that you've had and the people that you've worked with, and the credibility that you've earned. Yep.
And it's, I think looking back, I think we all, and I talked to lots of people about this now, like loyalty is a pretty big thing. I think we all should know that having a good team around you is massive. And I know working with Lee, they talk about it massively. At the level, we all talk about our team, but I think we also should talk about it at a younger age.
Yeah.
These people have my back. I know they're going to help me.
Yeah. Do you think the loyalty is changing? It used to be people staying and being more loyal in the past, and now more people are jumping around. Do you think that's shifted with,
Absolutely.
I guess, society now?
Yes,
The shifts in society?
I think we are thinking the grass is greener. Always the grass is greener over here. And I get it in a way, but I also, the gains you get and the care you get from a coach. I mean, one of the coaches once said to me, we were doing a coaching course, and they actually said, what's one of the things that makes Ben do well at what he's doing? And I was really interested. He's another big mentor of mine, Gary Stickler. And he said, Ben cares. And I thought, wow, that's an interesting statement, that all this stuff we could talk about. But and that care, where does that caring come from? It comes from being around a child quite a lot. Not here and there, here. No, it comes from them showing loyalty, you showing loyalty back. And I think that care factor should never be underestimated.
100%. Is there a reason why you think people are less loyal now? Because I see so many people jumping around. I don't know if it's just my perception and that's how it's always been, but I feel like then everyone's always just trying to find the next answer.
Yeah, I think it's just the way we're going a little bit. And I think people are always just looking for that magic dust almost.
Because I remember growing up, everyone would just stay at one club and just have a full journey. Like I played at one club for over 10 years and loved it there. And there were so many people from that club that helped me become like a good young man just from being around that culture. That taught me a lot. And I played, and I was always the youngest, and I had these older men kind of shape me and show me how to kind of be a good competitor, how to have good sportsmanship, how to carry myself on the court with a good attitude. I owe a lot to that time and hanging out with that. And I think a lot of people are not really getting that club but coaching culture intertwined. It's just purely just tennis coaching related, and let's just jump to every single club we can to try to find the best spot, the best opportunity.
Absolutely. I think, and with that, I think, we're talking about that coach that cares and how you get that by showing that loyalty. Because you also need a coach that can pull your kid up, right? You also need a kid that can pull the parent up. And a lot of parents who listen to this will go, hey, yeah, Ben's pulled me up, which is interesting. And you can't get that unless you have a strong relationship.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you get all these kids in around, but no one's actually pulling them up because we haven't got a strong relationship or that care factor as much because of the jumping around.
So important. Like, when do you start pulling an athlete up? Like, what are kind of some things that I guess cross the boundary where you go like, nah, that's not it.
Obviously, effort, number one, effort, and I guess just pure behaviour on the court. And I guess, but that's what I mean. Being able to have that talk with the parents is massive. And how do you have that talk with the parents? You know them pretty well. You've had a journey.
Yeah.
And you've also had a journey with the kids where the parents, I trust Ben. I believe that if my kid's out of line, he's out of line.
Yeah. Yeah, there is that trust that you can discipline them as well, and it's not received in a negative way. Yeah, I think that's really important because you have to say no.
Yep.
And I think you've spoken about this, the importance of saying no more.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
Yeah, we've talked about tennis. I've talked about tennis, about resilience in tennis and the importance of resilience. And I know I've been listening to a few things lately where how do we create resilience in families that are quite well off? Because to be brutally honest, a lot of the tennis families are reasonably well off. And we came back with the importance to say no. No, we're not changing coaches. No, you're not changing schools. No, you're going to stick to this. Or no, you can't go to this party. I think we're losing a little bit of that. And thus the resilience, we're losing a little bit. And we'll talk about that. But as the journey develops with someone like Lee, resilience, number one.
Mm-hmm. So do you think in Australia we've gotten worse at that, or that's become an issue?
Absolutely.
In recent times, and that's maybe why we're falling behind some other nations in current state that we're in?
Yes, absolutely. I think the kids, we're looking for ways out rather than the parent going, no, there's no way out here. You are going to push through. We're going to work hard.
It's as simple as that.
Yep. It is, and it is, to be honest, it's not a great thing, but it's not as much of it around anymore as it used to be.
Yeah, I think so. I guess tying this into mental toughness, like how do you build the resilience, which you just touched on? Is there other ways to really build that toughness, to really be able to handle how tough this sport is, especially as you're moving towards the level that Lee's at currently?
Yep, and being with Lee has taught me a lot about that. And what do we need to do to be okay when we're 18 or 19 and it's tough? And I think it still comes back to you having a relationship with the parents where you need to be able to say, no, walk away. No, don't watch them. Say no. I think, honestly, the relationship you have with the child and the parent helps create it. Well, does create it, to be honest.
So do you think almost the most important piece of the puzzle is the parents?
Yes.
More than almost the coach sometimes? Like what do you think about that?
I think it's the relationship. I really do. Like having a relationship with the parent and the coach is huge. And it doesn't have to be, not drinking out or friendly like how we're doing this. No, it's your kid needs to really work on some resilience here. What are we going to put in place? Because it's no good me putting it in place if they're not going to do it at home.
Yeah.
So we have to be on the same page. No, we're actually going to do some things that may upset them a little bit.
Yeah. So what makes a really good parent with some of these more successful coaching journeys that you've been on, or people that you've seen them in the periphery? What makes them more successful or better parents to help a child go further on the tennis journey?
Yeah, I mean, the kids, and also talking to Lee through his journey, it's 6 a.m, we're turning up. 6 a.m, 3 mornings a week. We're turning up. Oh, Mum, my shoulders a little, we're turning up. Even if we chat, we do. The ability to turn up is one of the biggest things I think we've forgotten, and that's to do with resilience. Like the kids along the journey that were very successful, we barely, honestly, 4 years barely missed a lesson. And if I told people that now, they go, what? No, they barely missed a lesson. And that was the parents honestly saying, no, we are going to go today. Yes, we are going to go today.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's big. Anything else that you see, like I guess temperament from some of the parents or things that they do that really helps a child?
I think letting go is a big one. Like I said about letting, Ben, but someone might cheat. Okay, that's part of the journey. Let's prepare them for it and let them deal with it. Let's not hang off the court and think we're going to solve their problems for them. Letting the kids grow themselves. And it's tough. And I've been a parent, and some of the other parents find it tough to, but Ben, the other person's, no, they're okay. They'll be fine.
How much of a better coach did you become when you became a parent? Did it change
along the way
for you?
I mean, I learned a lot, to be honest, and my girls will laugh a lot at this, but yeah, I wasn't great at times.
Yep.
And that's being brutally honest, but I had to learn and not be emotional and say, no, hey, you tried your best today. That's all that matters. So
yeah, just really making that, I guess, priority at that age.
it was, and it's not easy because we all get emotional about winning and losing, and we'll talk about being your child being okay to lose is probably one of the biggest, most important things. It's okay to lose.
So from a parent perspective, it's been more complimentary about the effort they give and not talking too much about the tennis, letting the coaches do their job there, and just maybe call them out if they put in a lackluster effort or have show really poor attitude.
Yep.
And yeah, maybe be a little bit firmer on them about that. But if they've put in a good effort and it just hasn't come together on the day, and they're like, okay, we move on. That's okay. But you've tried your best. Yep,
absolutely. And as I've talked to Lee a lot about this, not making the result determine what dinner's like that night is massive. I know we used to joke about it, and I know Lee won't mind me saying sometimes dinner wasn't great for him.
Yeah,
because he lost a tennis match. And I've talked to a lot of parents go, Ben, they smile at me, go, how did you know? How did you know that our dinner last night was not much fun? That we all sat there angry, having a go at our child because they lost. I said, I've seen it, and we've got to get better at it.
What are some of the tips to actually help players that are juniors, right, to get towards that lower professional level? How do you actually help transition some of these kids? Because being a good junior is one thing, but then transitioning to the men's or women's game, it's another beast.
It is. And I guess that's where I have changed a little bit and it does come back. I know we're talking about it a lot. It does come back to resilience and that ability it's okay to lose. And if we grow up thinking it's not okay to lose, as long as there's some key factors, effort, fight, compete, there are some absolute key factors. But I think at the moment as young children, they're coming through thinking it's not okay to lose. My parents hated it. So they get to the olders, that 19 level. And I hate to say it, and we've all, I guess a lot of people know records of tennis players. You lose more than you win. So if you can't deal with it, it's a tough sport.
Yeah, 100%. Are you seeing a change in tennis in terms of or tennis coaching from how it used to be in, let's say, from your Millswood days, even before in Darwin, to now? Like, what are some of the, I guess, things that have changed, and how is it moving towards in the future? Where do you see it moving towards in the next years ahead?
I think the tennis, it's fine. I think it's more getting through the personality and the attitudes of the kids is harder now, and trying to tell the parents that, hey, we need to turn up, we need to work. Oh, but little Johnny's not feeling it today. Oh, I think there's way more of that now. I think the tennis hasn't changed. The coach, everyone's got their ideas, there's different things, but it's more dealing with the kids is a lot harder now.
Yeah, it seems that way. And we've been talking. It's so interesting because we're talking so much about non-tennis stuff to actually make someone really good.
Yep. And I guess that's my journey. And being with Lee, it's not the tennis stuff a lot we talk about.
Because you've obviously done it so many times to actually develop a good junior with how they look good, how they can hit all the strokes, they can strike the ball reasonably well. But I'm asking you some questions around that, and you're you're not even talking about
Yep.
that at all. Like you keep kind of like going off in a different direction, and just shows how important some of these other things are, that I think anyone listening to this can really take away some important things that aren't tennis related, that if you want to be a good tennis player, you actually need to adopt.
Yeah. And I think we do skip them a little bit. And we do skip them. Oh, they hit a ball beautifully. Yes. And to be honest, lots of people hit a ball beautifully. Around the world, if we're talking worldwide, many, many people hit the ball beautiful, but not everyone can compete. Not everyone's okay losing. Hence, we all talk about, there's big things about dropout rates.
Yeah.
We're not okay losing.
Yeah. What would you do to help some of that dropout rate, especially with girls? So commonly 14, 15, they start dropping out, social side of the game. I guess becoming a woman, and maybe a little bit earlier, or earlier for sure, it means that I guess their perspective changes, and then you see that it's a lot of sacrifice to be a professional woman tennis player and less sacrifice to be a man competing at a professional level. So how do you keep, because you worked with a lot of girls, how do you keep girls playing? How do you get them to the starting line at 18? Because if you can just keep them in the game at that level, there's so many opportunities that can open up for them compared to the men's.
Yep.
So much harder in the men's.
So much harder. But on both sides of it, I think the college pathway is something that's really got me ticking on this subject.
Yep.
And I have got a girl at the moment that's pretty good, okay. But I think if there wasn't a college pathway, she'd be going, I don't think I want to play anymore. But at the moment, there's a few girls going, hey, Ben, if I keep improving, if I keep my academics up, am I going to be able to go to... I said, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm actually really been talking about this a lot lately, is that to have some motivation at 16 is pretty big. And even at your level, it's okay to be in a Div 2 or a Div 3 and get a great education.
Yeah.
And it's not for everybody, but that's one way I've found where the girls are actually talking to me all the time. Ben, if I keep improving, if I keep training, yes. Where a while back, I found that they were going, I think, to be honest, girls are more realistic. Ben, I think I'm done. So...
Do you think boys are a bit more head in the sky dreaming than girls?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
That's fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah. So when did that change for you to actually think about more college pathways? How many years are we talking here?
Probably last 10.
Yeah.
Or
So before
8.
that, you weren't looking at that, or what was
Not really.
How did your perspective change?
Obviously, my girls went to college, and a lot of the kids, and talking to some people that went there. But I think this is big. The perspective of you don't have to be a superstar was probably a big one as well. I think back it was like, oh no, you only Div 1 and it's this and it's this. No, there's opportunities for everybody. And you don't have to go, absolutely, but there is an opportunity if you'd like to go.
So many great things to come out of going to college as well, just from a life perspective of how they're going to grow as people, how they're actually going to become a lot more independent, figure out things for themselves without mum and dad.
Yep.
It's huge tool for them to become young men and women that actually have some resilience and ability to actually overcome
Absolutely.
and take responsibility for themselves. So if parents are okay with letting their children go like that,
Yep.
I think it's a great pathway, and it kind of dangles the carrot a little bit more.
It keeps something there for them, and I think that's big. I think it's really important, especially for the girls. There's something there for you.
Otherwise, you don't know what you're playing for. The purpose is lost, and it feels a bit like, what's the point?
Yep.
Kind of thing, because it feels so far away that it's like, why am I even doing this?
Yes. And knowing that, this is the talk I've had to some, knowing that it's okay primarily for education.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to play some tennis, but primarily your goal, and I've had a young boy that's constant dates my daughter that got an internship at a business, and now he's working for that business in Australia.
Amazing.
Opportunities everywhere. So
What have you seen change with your girls that have went to college? How have they changed in a positive way from going there?
they're buying houses, they're they're able to sort their own problems out is massive because they had to. Yes, they've always got support on the phones and social media, but they were able to sort some pretty difficult situations out, to be honest. And even, the respect I saw that what they were doing, like, dudes, you are working hard here. Respect for those kids, tough.
Yeah, it's great. I think it's very important. And then also the element of how much you get to compete. It's so cutthroat over there, and you have away schools screaming in your face, telling you suck, and then you're competing and playing like sudden death juices, and then you got the whole team watching you for a playoff last match of the day to clinch the day, and you're competing multiple, like you can play like a couple matches a week even, right? Or a couple different competitions
least,
a week.
Yep.
So you're competing that much and you're getting a lot of match play in the 4 years that you're there, that it can just turn you into an absolute beast competitor.
Competitive, yep. And that's what it is. And then, like we said, then your choice is Rinky Hichikata. Hey, I'm a really good tennis player. Off I go. To Adam Walton. Off I go. Or the boy Josh Larker. No, I'm going to work for this business. So the examples I've got of different ways the kids have gone, and there's no wrong or right, but they've chosen their pathway, and it's great for them.
Yeah, it's amazing. Especially with Walton, for example. Like he knew he wasn't quite at the level, and then he went over there and he played an insane amount of matches, learned how to win, learned how to compete, played against the best in America. And now he went on to tour his first year. I think he was 23 or 24 years old before he started. And now he's top 100 in the world. And I think his ability to be consistent week after week, when some guys have a good week and then the next week they're losing first round because they just can't back it up, he's consistently semis, finals of challenges. Like week after week, you just look at his results and you're like, wow, this guy backs it up. And I think a lot of that would be how much he competed in those 4 years.
Absolutely. The times where he would have gone to his coach, I'm not feeling it today, coach. Sorry, mate. We need you. We need you. Has helped him, right, back it up.
He talked about that when we had the conversation with him on the podcast, where a couple NCAA championship, he was just spent, had a huge effort to get to that point. They played so many matches and he was just so done, but he just found a way to beat some of these guys and became Tennessee Hall of Fame, got a ring in NCAA championship for doubles, got to the semi-final, lost to Ben Shelton in a really tight 3-setter who went on to win it. And he was playing for this American US Open wildcard spot. So he was like, some of these things he never would have dreamed of doing, he did, and now it's obviously serving him, and he's in the top 100 in the world. What is the pathway though? So how do athletes get to college? What are some of the things that you help them with? Because I know Sue, your wife, helped you. How do you actually reach out to schools? What's the process that I guess some aspiring athletes need to be aware of for them to actually
very good question.
Get to college?
Yep, that's a very good question, because the journey probably does start before U12. Sometimes we leave it to the last minute. And I guess the big learning has to be, whether I choose to go or not, I want to put everything in place. So when the time comes, I have a choice. Not when the time comes, I'm scratching and looking here, looking there. So if you're in year 10 and 11 and getting the right subjects, talking to the right people who are actually, funnily enough, reaching out to schools when you're in year 10 or 11, and all of a sudden these schools follow you, believe it or not. They follow your UTR. They see how you're traveling. They ring me up as the coach and say, Ben, how are they traveling? So you're actually in the eyes and the view of coaches early. And so when the time comes, it's seamless. It's seamless.
Okay. So starting early, year 10.
Yep.
Okay. And when is the process because everyone creates generally like a video? How important is that? Is that even that important these days to create a video on all the shots and how you play?
It's not, it's important, but it's not that important. You'll find that the coaches will really want the personality and the person. And I find what's more important, because what happens is my wife, so we'll organise meetings with a lot of the coaches for the athletes. And if you come across well in the meeting and talk well, they rate that extremely highly as a person. Yeah, I want this person on my team, because that's what it's about, team.
Yeah, I think it's such an important pathway that all parents and athletes need to consider on the tennis journey. If you're not really at that elite end and you can't kind of slot into potentially playing challenges and giving yourself a genuine crack and have some very good finances behind you.
Correct, that's a big one. Finances behind you.
If you don't have a huge amount of finances to work with, maybe thinking about a 2-year period, I think college has got to be the pathway.
Yep. I mean, the option, like Rinky, I think he'll correct me, but I think he was there a year or two.
Yeah.
And then it's okay for him to go, now I'm moving on here. Some people were there 4 years. Adam, okay, now it's the right time for me. So, okay, no, I'm going to go and work. I have to get a job now.
Yeah. Amazing. So many good pathways out of that. Looking back on your coaching experience, is there anything that you would change, or is there any kind of advice that you would have given yourself, the younger version of you?
Absolutely. I think I may have mentioned this to you before, is that I guess I owe this to Lee too, as that some of the kids that got to 18, I kind of thought, and this is my fault, I'll take it on, I kind of thought, I'm not sure they can get better anymore. Okay. But knowing the journey now is that it's still just beginning. Honestly, that's why we talk about 14. I'm like, really? 18, 9, it's just beginning. Your college pathway, your professional pathway is actually just beginning. And the improvements and gains you can still make are huge. Huge. Just from being around, I guess the important thing, the right environment. And what that environment is, whether it's college, around 10 other people that are really doing the same thing, or you're out competing on a professional level, the improvements are huge. And I guess I've made massive improvements there.
Yeah.
That, hey, there's still growth here. And believing in the kids that you can still get a lot better.
Yeah. How has that journey been with Lee? Seeing him closely at that professional level, close to the top 100 or top 200. What have you learned being around real professional tournaments, ATP Tour, Australian Open, being on the road with him at challenges? Like, what are some of the things that you've observed being around him, being around all those guys around that level?
I think the thing is that we can all hit a tennis ball, and I know we've chatted about it. We can all hit a tennis ball, and there's a lot of great tennis players out there. But are we all great competitors? Do we all play to every point, last point, we never give up? I think is the main thing.
Have you seen anyone around that level that's caught your eye that you go, wow, there's something about that person that I think they're going to go into big things?
Not really, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think back now. I got to really think about it's, I guess to me, it just looks so even. That's the biggest thing. And the jump to where some of these guys are, to Max Purcell, Adam Walton, it's not a huge jump. So now everyone's putting their heads, what is it? What is that jump from 200, 150 inside the top 100, which is where we're at, and we're really coming up with, okay, what is it? And definitely what is it? It's competing day in, day out.
Yeah.
Never letting up. And also having the attitude that nothing's going to get in my way here. Nothing's going to get in my way.
Yeah.
There's going to be hurdles, but I'm going to push through, and when nothing's getting in my way.
That's big. And having that unbreakable belief.
Yep.
Yeah, that's huge. So do you think that it's all going wrong because we're not creating environments like that from an earlier age? And so that when you get to that level, you actually don't have the ability to have the resilience to do what it takes to get to those top 100 spots in the world?
Absolutely. I think we're not saying okay to kids, it's okay to fail more now.
Yep.
Because I know there's been lots of different talk about it, but we learn a lot from failures. We all know that. Yet we're trying to avoid them for our kids. No, we have to create the failures. We learn more. It's okay to lose. Yeah, we're not creating that enough now. Therefore, we get to that pro level. You know, I'm sure some people like Lee won't mind me saying, hey, we lost 6 matches in a row. Geez, we got to keep our chin up, don't we? We got to keep digging. We got to keep fighting. Mm-hmm. So we got to create that, don't we? That belief, that resilience.
And that's not an easy shift. That's something that takes. There's probably a couple years of really solid, consistent work to create an environment like that, where the standards are set and adhered to for that time frame.
Yeah.
Is that what has been done for you in the past? Like, how long has it taken for you to actually build? Like, do you think it's probably about 2 years before you can actually say, like, hey, we've actually built an environment here that I'm proud of, that is a good environment for everyone to really build that resilience?
Yeah, where the culture where we're actually celebrating every person there. We're celebrating their good results, their good things in their life. We're not actually in a culture where we're going, oh, I really hope that person loses. Because when I first came, there was a little bit of, I don't want that person to succeed. No, we want everyone to succeed. We want everyone to get better because we all get better. And that does take years to try and create.
100%. Obviously, we're working together now, and we are doing our very best to build exactly what we're talking about. What are the next phases for you? What do you kind of see in the vision moving forward with us joining forces, and I guess what we're trying to create based on everything you've seen in the past and where you're on to next?
Well, I think the best thing is now for me is having a group, yourself and Matt and Sammy, around a lot more has kind of invigorated me a little bit more too, to be honest, because it's hard when you feel like you're by yourself kind of. And I know I've had a little bit of support from some people, but like-minded, having a few more people around is massive for me, to be honest, because we can talk, we can chat, we can grow together. I think that's part of an environment, having a group of coaches together with the same like-mindedness, all working together, is massive. So I can see already that, like you said, 2 years, it does take time, but it's starting to happen for sure.
So do you think that if we weren't coming on board, it would have meant that you may be thinking about stopping coaching and being out of the game?
To be honest, probably yes. Yeah, I was getting a little bit like I need help. Getting coaches, as you know, too, is not easy, especially quality coaches. So in the end, I was probably going with a few other things like not making it easy to create kids, not enough coaches to help. I probably was very close to going, not sure here. This is tough.
And how do you see it unfolding with how we've started here? Where do you think we're building towards? What do you kind of see for the future? If we keep kind of doing what we're doing, where does it lead?
I can see it leading towards where if you're a good junior, this is where you'd like to be, because I know these guys have got my back. I know that they can help me get better. And I'm hoping that the parents would also be saying, hey, Luke, the boys are all very honest with us. You know, they'll tell us when we're out of line. They'll tell us that, hey, my kids need a little bit of tough love here. So it's an environment where, I want to be there. They're going to help my kids get better. So
it's so good. It's so good that you're saying that you felt like you're up and about again. From having us around, and I can feel it as well. It feels like a really good environment. I feel kind of inspired. It's been good to talk to you about just all the technical elements of the game and just how you see the game with just your experience that you have. And then Matt's obviously very experienced and been around the highest level around the world from a junior perspective for the last few years. So just having us out there when we're all together, you can feel that there's a buzz. You can feel that it's like, wow, there's something really cool going on here. And you can see where that leads if you just keep going.
And I find it's great because I feel the big thing there is, like, as coaches, we're good at letting go our like, hey, I'm honest, Luke can teach me some things. Hey, Matt can teach, like, having coaches that are open to that, I think is massive, rather than the coach that just wants to sit in a little bubble and hide.
I feel like that's what we're all really good at. Like Sammy coming out, asking you questions. We're all kind of like, hey, what do you think about this? Or what are your thoughts on this? And it's never like, oh, no, that's wrong. It's always like, oh, that's interesting. You say that, like, okay, I do it like this. And you're all trying to help each other get better. And if we can kind of keep and leave our egos on the side, I think we can create an environment where everyone wins, like you said.
Yep.
It's really cool. Is there any other kind of goals or things that you're wanting for your future? Obviously, your girls are moved on. They've got partners. They're going to be looking to have kids and be married, and they've got the houses and all of that sort of stuff. So what's important for you now?
I mean, I think obviously helping them out it's kind of the stage of life I'm into now. Like if they need help, like I'm driving to Melbourne on the weekend, we're going away the weekend after, also having the flexibility there for me is perfect.
Yeah.
So I still get this thing I love, to be honest, this love of being out there and with you guys, helping. But I've also got that little bit of flexibility is, hey, my family needs some help.
Yep.
I'm able to do that now. Hey, Lee needs some help here. I'm able to do that now.
Whereas in the past, you had no ability to do that because you were locked down and you didn't have the help around you.
No. Yep.
Yeah. That would be very freeing, especially with the stage of life that you're in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's really, to me, it's a great setup because I've got both sides. I'm okay. Like if I say to you, but I'm not here this week, or you're okay, we've got this. And I've never really had that before. Okay, we've got this. So, Ben, the place is going to fall apart. You're not here. No, it's not.
Yeah. No, it feels good because I'm in a different stage of life where I'm wanting to be there all the time. I'm wanting to get my head into working and just being full on and building there. And you've been and done that. So for you to be able to kind of have the freedom to pick and choose and do as you please and help out as much as you want, or go and help the girls or go see Lee, then that's really good. Awesome. And you deserve that as well with the journey that you've been on, because it's been a lot of work. Thanks a lot. I think I'm really happy with just the concrete, rock solid conversation we've had today. There's so many good takeaways. And for me, I was thinking that we might go a little bit more technical, some fundamentals of the game, but I guess some really key takeaways are the resilience, the family unit, taking the emotion out of it, having a good attitude, how do you show up, saying no more, and how all of these elements are going to come together to actually build a rock solid tennis player. Because learning the skills, anybody can learn the skills, but how do you actually have those underpinning elements that are going to actually help you get to the starting line and then not crumble? Because once you get to the starting line,
yeah, absolutely,
it's tough. And if you don't have the skills or the family unit or the help around you, then it's really tough. So I think there's some really good information there, I think, especially for parents or aspiring tennis players to really listen to today. And I'm really pumped for the work that we're going to be putting in the next couple of years.
Me too.
Loving it. Thanks so much for coming down today.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.